167-pound weight class, we're going to be seeing a young man from Russia by the name of Dmitry Tюкалов. Dmitry Tюкалov, the 1996 national Dрака champion in Russia. And there's a good look at him. Dmitry Tюкалов. He hasn't had a lot of professional experience, but what experience he has had, oh, has he been exceptional. 8 bouts, doesn't get any better than that, does it?
He's undefeated, but that's not a very impressive record to me. I mean, that's very inexperienced. I see now he's a Russian kickboxing champion with only 8 bouts. But then again, you know, Leon Spinks had 8 pro bouts when he beat Muhammad Ali.
Yes, he did.
So some fighters just mature quickly.
But I recall the next time Ali got a hold of Leon, it was a whole different outcome.
Well, it was a spanking the second time. It was I think he caught Ali off guard. Ali was looking at the same thing I am at this record. 8 bouts does not give you a lot of room for experience.
I think Tyson had the same feeling over in Japan against a guy named Buster Douglas. And here comes our second fighter that Dmitry Tюкалов will face. He's from the United States. And Don Wilson, you know a little bit about Mike Winkeljohn.
I know a little bit more than a little bit. I've been in the ring with Mike Winkeljohn.
Yes,
he gave me a heck of a fight. He's a tough guy. He has not been very active, though. He has not been fighting. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's still got what he used to have, which was conditioning and heart. I mean, he was a very conditioned fighter. Puts the pressure on in the first round and keeps it up. He's got 31 bouts, which is 4 times the experience of Dmitry. But with the layoff, you know, it still remains to be seen what kind of condition he's in.
Well, our tale of the tape for Dmitry Tюкалов of Russia. He's the 1996 Russian kickboxing champion, the 1996 national Dрака champion. As we mentioned a moment ago, 8 wins and no losses. And 7 of those wins have come by knockout. Across the ring stands Mike Winkeljohn, the ISKA world champion in Oriental rules, the USA full contact champion. He's got a wealth of professional experience. 21 wins, 7 losses, and 3 draws with 11 knockouts. And now, let's go to the ring and Steve Folsom.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Dрака bout number 3. This is in the worldwide Dрака professional super middleweight division. To begin with, weighing in at 166 1/4 pounds in the red and black trunks with a record of 21 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws with 11 of the wins by knockout. He is the IMTO World Champion, the ISKA World Oriental Rules Champion, and the United States Full Contact Champion. He is from Albuquerque, New Mexico, USA. In the blue corner, Mike Winkeljohn. And his super middleweight opponent will be at 167 1/2 pounds in the green trunks with a record of 8 wins, unblemished with no losses, no draws, with 7 wins by knockouts. He is the 3rd place winner in the 1996 Russian Kickboxing Championships, the 1996 National Dрака champion. He is from Russia. In the red corner, Dmitry Tюкалов. Your referee tonight's bout is past kickboxing champion Danny Bam Bam Stell.
Danny Stell, the 3rd man in the ring, as he gives the final instructions to Tюкалов and Winkeljohn. And Don, what do you remember about your bout with Winkeljohn?
Well, I remember, as I said, he was very aggressive. He can take a good shot. I mean, I think it's going to be a heck of a fight. I mean, granted, he may not have Dрака experience, but he is a heck of a fighter.
But he has a wealth of Muay Thai experience, and you wonder, Don, if he could be at a disadvantage because there's no knees allowed in this fight.
Well, he says knees are his favorite technique, so that's obviously puts him at a disadvantage if he's used to using them aggressively.
Winkeljohn trying to grab his opponent and throw him, but Dmitry Tюкалов is going to have none of it.
Well, one thing I like seeing is that at least Mike, while inexperienced with Dрака, is trying to do a takedown of some sort. He's a southpaw. His right hook is his favorite punch. And he's come out the aggressor. I'm pretty impressed with Mike's strategy here to get in there and try to attempt to take down himself against a more experienced Draka champion. He's the national Draka champion. And Mike in the red trunks is pressuring him, trying to do a throw of his own.
Tюкалов trying to leg sweep with the inside leg sweep with that right leg, but Winkeljohn doing a good job of keeping a very, very wide stance.
Right, and he was tying him up in there, too. He was keeping those hands at bay by tying them up. Remember, Mike said that right hook, being a southpaw, it's usually the straight left and right hook that works for southpaw. This is very interesting. This is the first time we've actually seen fighters come out and kind of bypass the kickboxing strikes and go right for grappling techniques in the first round.
Final 10 seconds of this opening round. Winkeljohn now living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Trained for this fight with a lot of mountain running.
I believe that's altitude, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
No wonder he was in such good shape when he fought me.
Well, that's some knowledge you didn't have at the time.
No, I knew where he was from. I knew where he was from.
Well, you look at Mike Winkeljohn, and it seemed as if he had Tюкалов in a couple of situations early in that first round, Don, where he could have grabbed him and thrown him. But you get the feeling with these fighters who are not familiar with the Draka style as if they remember to throw.
Well, you know, he was trying to initiate some type of throw. I mean, that's what I like. I don't think he's got the experience to beat a national Draka champion his first time out, but here's the first time we've had a fighter outside of Russia actually using the Draka techniques from the first round. I mean, the other fighters after round 2 or 3 would throw in a little Draka technique or throw, but this is the first round. I would say that was very even. If I went one way, I'd went to Mike because he was the aggressor.
Dmitry Tюкалов, they call him the Jaguar. He's from Russia. Been with the same trainer now for 10 years, Nikolai Romanova. Oh, good combination. Down both fighters go, and
well, Mike was on top. I think Mike's going to get a point for that. I think he gets 1 point.
Yep, Danny Stell says 1 point.
1 point for Winkeljohn. And he's up against the Draka champion, putting him down with the Draka technique. But he better watch out because he is getting hit. I mean, like I said, he can take a good shot, but that's not a way to win a fight. When it comes to fighting, it's better to be the pitcher than the catcher.
There's a good shot of Tюкалов as he tried to position Winkeljohn for a throw, couldn't do it. Good left hand.
Yeah, he's trying to time him with an uppercut because Mike is coming down very low. As a matter of fact, it's a dangerous technique coming in like that. He might get caught with a kick. So far, Mike has just kept the forward momentum going. And that's not really a real clean martial arts style grab he's doing. It's more like a football tackle. I think Mike needs to get a little slicker with his takedown. Good left. Good left there. He went down. He's trying to go for a double leg wrestler's takedown there. I don't know what that was.
Almost looked like a crab. Final 5 seconds.
He's going to go down and do a fireman's carry or something. Got to give it to Mike. I tell you, my unofficial score right now is 2 rounds Mike Winkeljohn.
Well, 2 in the book. We still have another 4 to go in this fight. Blinky, how do you see it so far?
Well, so far I do see John Winkeljohn as the aggressor. Although his opponent, there's no question that he's landed his fair shots. I see a welt beginning on the forehead of John Winkeljohn. And basically, you guys, I think that's from that right uppercut that was thrown by Tюкалов.
All right, Blinky. There's a man who said that the highlight of his life so far is his trip to America for this fight. You have to like that.
Well, the trip's not over yet, Dimitri. The trip's not over yet, brother.
Yeah, they came a long way for this fight. So many of these fighters that we're seeing in action tonight from Estonia, Lithuania, Russia, Kyrgyzstan. And Mike Winkeljohn up on the balls of his feet as we get set for round 3. These super middleweights are scheduled for 6.
You know, I'm pretty impressed. Mike has not been active recently, but his conditioning is no factor at all. He's just coming forward, looks fresh in the 3rd round. Of course, he says his favorite food is French fries, and maybe he gets his energies from these French fries.
Mike's been married for 10 years, has a 4.5-year-old daughter, Michelle. Said when things slow down, I'd love to have another child. Winkeljohn on the move here.
That's easy to say. The girls have to do all the work there. Here's some good little hand work by Dimitri on the inside, because Mike seems really intent on taking him down. Dimitri's landing some nice short uppercuts in there.
Well, you said in round 2, Don, that you thought Tюкалов was trying to measure Winkeljohn for that uppercut, and we saw it just miss there a moment ago.
Well, when you start ducking down low like that, I don't know if you remember the Foreman-Frazier fight, but
oh boy,
Foreman landed some bombs of an uppercut that put Frazier down because he was coming in low like Winkeljohn. So it's a dangerous technique if it doesn't work. Oh, good front kick there by Mike to the body. And those are good, clean scores. A body kick or punch counts as much as a headshot.
Winkeljohn in the red out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Fights for Billy Packer. Both these fighters been with their handlers a long time. Winkeljohn 12 years with the Packer camp. Tюкалов 10 years with Nikolai Romanova. Something to be said, Don, for finding a trainer you like and staying with that person, particularly if you have great success.
Absolutely. Don't fix it if it's not broke.
Yeah, good point.
That was a pretty easy round, even round. I really couldn't call that either way. If anything, I think that might have been Dimitri's because of the uppercuts you mentioned before. If they were counting those uppercuts clean, could be Dimitri's round.
We were talking in this last fight about these fighters are really not being barbarians. They're really contributing members of society. They're athletes like any other athlete. And when you talk to Mike Winkeljohn, asking him yesterday, if you could speak to 1,000 kids, Mike, in an auditorium, what would you tell them? And he said, you know, that's not hard. I tell them to live by clean traditional values, to respect their parents, to honor things they say they're going to do. And what a kind gentleman and what a beautiful human being Mike Winkeljohn is.
I agree with you, except for there's one thing that makes me a little suspicious of Mike's intentions in the ring, and that's he listed his favorite movie as Deliverance. Now, I don't know what that means. That scares me. That's all I know. And he might be looking to dish out some punishment in here tonight.
Well, he better be. He's in there against a good one in Dmitry Tюкалов.
We're into the 4th round. Still, it's anybody's fight. Very difficult for me to call this as a judge because the scoring system is so radically different than kickboxing. But I would say unofficially that Winkeljohn is slightly up. He's the aggressor. He has landed some... Well, this is not good for Mike. 2 points. That was 2 points. And that was, in kickboxing, that would be considered a slip.
Yep. Absolutely.
But not in Dрака. Your balance, losing footing, dangerous thing in Dрака as far as losing points. Now it's catch-up ball for Mike at this point.
Now Tюкалов, just by his stature, his wide stance in the ring, is going to be a hard guy to throw.
Well, every time Mike gets in there, he tries to wrap around his waist. I mean, I don't think it's going to work. It has not really... look, I saw a knee sneak in there from Winkeljohn, illegal under these rules, but I think Mike's not going to get a good, clean takedown unless he does something different in there. He's going to have to initiate a hip throw of some kind, or... He seems to be tiring, Dimitri, though. If I was going to pick a fighter that was burning more energy or losing energy, it would be Dimitri at this point.
Winkeljohn still the aggressor, as he has been since the opening bell. But I think of the two, if you're going to talk about a tactical fight, Don, Tюкалов has fought the more tactical of the fight. Winkeljohn and Tюкалов really going at it right there.
Well, they even landed a couple of tactical after the bell shots on that one.
Let's go to Blinky.
Hey, guys. Hey, Ben, do you remember when we were crazy enough to do that kind of stuff when we were kids? Oh, yeah. I'll tell you. You know, what is interesting is that you really have to have that agility. I mean, if you fall down, if you trip, if your balance is off, Ben, you lose points.
Well, you know, actually, the opponent going backwards, it doesn't even get touched. If he falls, he loses points. So I mean, you have to really have good balance as well, and you got to make sure that the floor is not wet because it's slippery.
Well, I'll tell you, it's almost like you get penalized if you don't have extra good balance in this sport. I see this fight really shaping up now. You see Mike Winkeljohn really trying to dictate. He's thrown some good ball kicks to the body that have scored points. Go ahead and take it back, guys.
All right, Benny, thanks, Blinky. You know, Don, I couldn't help while Blinky was talking about the style of fighting. This almost kind of reminds me of the type of fighting we did as kids, where you grapple a little bit, you try and grab your best friend, and you flip him over your hip.
Right, it's more like the freestyle fighting that is becoming more and more popular. The grappling arts have really come along in the 80s, or 90s. Winkeljohn's playing some catch-up ball now. He knows with that takedown, he could be down on points right now. As close as it's been, that slip that was counted as a takedown puts him behind, I would say, at this point.
Whoa, a big left hand by Winkeljohn.
Good straight left. Good straight left. Yeah, he would be well advised to keep the pressure on right now at this point. He can't lay back. He's got to get in there and make something happen.
Tюкалов trying to load up, now shifts to the southpaw stance. Boy, Winkeljohn, when he goes in and uses that left leg as a jab to the midsection, he really runs the risk of being thrown.
Almost got a roundhouse snuck in, but the right hand did land. Oddly enough, Dimitri has not been the one initiating most of these throws. It's been Winkeljohn.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And as inactive as Winkeljohn has been, he's been the aggressor the entire bout. Might be that Albuquerque altitude we were talking about.
Now, Winkeljohn is by nature a Muay Thai fighter and a kickboxer. He's used to going 3-minute rounds and sometimes 10 to 12 rounds. This ought to be a real all-out burn for him. 6 2-minute rounds here in this Dрака style.
Yeah, if you take a look at Dimitri, his mouth is open. He went for a takedown there.
Now, you're right. Boy, look at his mouth wide open. And that's the end of round 5. So, Don, we've got 5 down and 1 up for these super middleweights. And unofficially, how do you have it so far?
I've got Dimitri slightly ahead because of that slip that was counted as a knockdown. Being the Dрака rules, I think Dimitri has landed some pretty good shots, some good uppercuts in there, while you give Mike a little bit of credit for being the aggressor. He has been getting hit.
Don, how do you get ready for a fight? The final 2, 3, 4 hours. What's your routine?
I sleep.
Funny.
I usually in the main event, so I get to the auditorium at 6 o'clock, and I'm usually not in the ring fighting till 9:30 or 10.
Well,
so I literally can get in the locker room, put a towel over my head, and sleep. I take a nap.
Well, then you and Tюкалов have a lot in common. He does the same thing.
Oh,
he
really?
was asleep an hour and a half before this fight.
Okay, well, then it's not that unusual, is it?
I'd be calling my insurance man, making sure my health insurance, my life insurance was in place. Here we go, the final round.
Okay, I figure they're going to pull out all stops on this round because it's so close. Neither fighter can be totally sure he's got it.
Safe to say that each corner told their fighter, you're behind on points, you got to go for this?
Well, that's what they told me. In fact, they used to tell me I was behind every round whether I won or not. Like we said, the one good takedown is all you need to turn this fight around.
Danny Steele telling, Danny Stell telling Mike, do not hit and hold behind the neck.
Well, that's what they consider a rabbit punch, and that's illegal under any striking.
Great ball kick by Winkeljohn, and that just stunned Tücalov.
Well, he's landed it before, but Tücalov is a tough cookie. I mean, he's been firing right back after those hits. Now remember, Dimitri has only had 8 bouts. And that could be why a little bit of fatigue is showing. You know, he doesn't have a lot of experience of pacing himself. Also, the fact that Winkeljohn has never taken a backward step in this fight's not helping him any. I'm sure that's taken a lot of energy.
But Tücalov struggling for every breath of air he can get here in this 6th and final round. And these super middleweights have provided us with quite a show.
Well, that could be a point for Winkeljohn. That could be a point.
And that's the end of this fight. Winkeljohn, they're going to give him 1 point.
They gave him 1 point. I would say that would win the round.
And that's the way this fight's going to end. And you see Winkeljohn with a little bit of blood from a very, very small abrasion on his forehead. A tremendous fight.
Non-stop action there. You can't complain about it not being an active fight. I mean, there was no staring at each other, no squaring, no feeling out round. They just got right into it.
Don, I mentioned at the outset of the fight that Mike Winkeljohn's a Muay Thai fighter. He's a kickboxer by trade. This was his first Dрака fight. Knees were not allowed, and I had mentioned before this fight got underway that the lack of knees could really be a disadvantage for Winkeljohn. Do you think it came into play?
Well, absolutely. This is a guy who puts on his resume, my best technique is the knee.
Sure.
That's like Joe Frazier without the left hook, Ali without the jab. I mean, but I think he gave a heck of a showing, and you know, I think he may have a future in this Dрака. He definitely feels comfortable with the grappling. I mean, he was going for a takedown. Didn't score too many of them, but he was going for them.
Well, you saw them tie up so many times, and in one of these sequences here, you'll see where Winkeljohn was trying to get Tücalov in a position to throw him and just could never do it.
Right. You know, Dimitri has only had 8 of these bouts. While he's the Russian champion, you know, Winkeljohn's had so many more fights. I think just the body motion. I mean, there's a lot of things that come with experience, as we said. And I'm impressed with both fighters, but, you know, they're both very evenly matched. It's going to be interesting to see how the judges score.
Well, back in round 5, I remember Winkeljohn landed a good, strong overhand left onto the head of Tücalov, but it didn't seem as if it even fazed the Russian fighter.
Well, I've been hit plenty of times, and that's all part of the fight game. I mean, if you're going to if your defense is a little weak, your acting ability's got to be good. So that the cover-up is all part of it. I'm sure it had an effect, maybe not as much as John would have liked, but, you know, I've been hit plenty of times, and they all affect you a little bit.
Well, it's in the hands of the judges right now, and while we await the decision, let's go across to Blinky Rodriguez.
Well, I'll tell you, I listened to everything that's going on. I also been watching what's been going on. These fighters have both been in the midst of it. They both utilize their inside-outside kicks, man, and the reality is that this fight looks like it's going to belong to anybody.
Actually, it was pretty well evenly fought there, so it can be a toss-up, either one.
All right, you guys, you heard that right from the jet. It could be a toss-up.
All right, Ben. Thank you very much. Let's go now to Steve Fossum. He has got the cards.
Ladies, as I get ready to announce the score of this bout, remember that Dрака is scored by certain types of points, a little bit different than regular kickboxing that you might have seen. So it's judged by only 1 point going to the winner of each round. It's not like a 10-9 or 10-8 round. Rounds are judged by throws, execution of techniques, strikes to parts of the body, so keep that in mind as these scores are announced. But before I announce the scores, what do you think of this Dрака bout, huh? Judge number 1 scores this bout 3-3. Judge number 2 scores this bout 3 rounds to 3. Judge number 3 scores it 4 rounds to 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a majority draw.
The audience didn't like that, but I tell you, that was a tough one to call. I wouldn't complain if I was in either corner. I think they both should feel lucky not to walk out there with a loss.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. A majority draw, you don't see that very often in boxing, kickboxing, or Dрака. But when it happens, I think both fighters tend to leave the ring with a sort of a feeling of, oh, what happened?
Well, they call it kissing your sister.
Yeah, that's
so,
right.
And that's probably the feeling they left with. You know, they feel like maybe they shouldn't have showed up.
Well, I think it's a good point, John. You said both fighters, you know, neither wants to leave with a loss. And I think it was a kind of fight where you hate to think that you possibly could have lost such a close fight. I'm glad to see that came out a majority draw.
Yeah, it was that close. I mean, yeah. We couldn't call it here at ringside, and neither could the judges. So.
Yeah, let's go to the center of the ring now, where Steve Fossum is standing by. Steve?
There are no politics in any kind of kickboxing here at Dрака. The winner by majority decision from Russia, Dmitry Tюкалов.
You know, I think as long as I've been around the fight game, Don, I don't think I've ever seen this type of a situation ever in some 20 years.
No, it doesn't happen in boxing because there obviously aren't as many points to tally. You know, that it's a 10-point must. It's easier to keep track of 10 points than an unlimited number.
Well, we are set to go. Our next fight of the night, Don, it is one of our main events. They are super junior middleweights. A guy by the name of Malik Borbashev from Kyrgyzstan against Redwan Bugara, who hails from France. And what's interesting about this fight, it's a rematch of a bout that took place just a couple of months ago.
Right. These guys fought, and Malik lost. Redon won the fight. Redwan won the fight, and now they're going to have a rematch. It was very closely fought and obviously contested by Borbashev.
Yeah, they're heading into the ring. Let's go find out which one is going to lead the march into this squared circle.